The foundation for all of the cryptocurrencies is it is built on having consensus without a human third party. So the machines create the consensus. And there are many ways to get this consensus, but most of the ways are divided into proof of work and proof of stake. Now, proof of work is Bitcoin uses, Ethereum's currently using. It was sort of the original, and so they make all these computers do a certain amount of work, and without getting to the details, they use that to get to consensus. Now, the problem, and you may have heard, the amount of energy that Bitcoin and Ethereum are using is so much and growing. So proof of stake is a way where rather than doing work to prove that you have a stake in forming a consensus, you have sort of an investment in the system itself, and you prove that, and that allows you to be part of the consensus. Now, so proof of stake is great because we don't have to have so many computers using so much energy to reach consensus. The problem is that some of those algorithms, at least listening to Vitalik Buterin of Ethereum talk about it, a lot of them are not as safe. The question is, can the consensus algorithm be manipulated, be hacked, be shut down? So everyone is like, what's the best? So far, and this industry is young, but Bitcoin's been around for a while. Proof of work and the Bitcoin model has been tested pretty thoroughly here. It's $40 billion worth of value over like 10 years, so it's pretty safe against attack. There are some proof of stake systems or maybe other algorithms that sound good, but all of a sudden get so big, it gets attacked, you realize it has a weakness. So it's tricky. But now, so for one thing, I thought is, wow, if a consensus system that doesn't require proof of work becomes better, well, that's really valuable because it's faster and we don't have to use all these computer resources. So, but then, I'm listening to Vitalik Buterin of Ethereum talk about it, and, they're thinking of moving, so Ethereum is moving to a proof of stake system called Casper. And also listening to Vitalik Buterin talk, the consensus system that you have sort of sounds like it's adaptable in a blockchain system. So in other words, I was thinking, geez, is the Ethereum consensus model the best? Like, I was thinking to myself that the key to looking at a future coin is that they have the best consensus model. But that might not be the key, because it may be easy / possible, I don't know how hard or easy it is, but that a blockchain is able to change its consensus model. In other words, so Ethereum is a leader. If someone comes up with a better way to reach consensus, theoretically Ethereum could then co-opt that, and so that doesn't become a threat to Ethereum. The threat is that the leader is on top of it and has the ability to adopt and change the system. Now, and again, this Ethereum leader, Vitalik, he's on top of it. He's young. He knows. He looks like a robot. Talks like a robot. I mean, he. I shouldn't say he looks like a robot, but he's just super sort of nerdily informed about all this stuff. So I became a little bit more convinced in Ethereum's potential success through learning both in how informed he is and the ability for him to adapt his network based on technology. In other words, it's not stuck because they launched it on one system. Now, this also though got me thinking about Bitcoin, which usually I'm like, everything I hear, I get more optimistic about Bitcoin. But Bitcoin is in proof of work, and so theoretically, they could upgrade to some proof of stake system maybe, but there is no leader in Bitcoin. And it was very hard to do sort of the upgrade they already did. So, I don't know that this is an immediate threat. And who knows, maybe Bitcoin remains for a long time as the only proof of work if it's not as good. But because it's so good and it's so trusted, it remains, and that's the only one using up tons of energy. Who knows? I don't know. But it is a bit of a concern, because I think the different proof of consensus algorithms that are coming out, there's so many now. I just started looking at IOTA, Well, I've been looking at several, but IOTA looked really interesting. And one thing I always do when I find a new proof of consensus is look, well, what does Vitalik think about it? And you seem to always be able to find a quote. He said, this was only a few weeks ago, he hasn't really studied the IOTA one enough. But it looks really interesting. It looks like a great consensus model. And so then there's two questions. One, if it's great, then maybe I should be getting the IOTA currency. I'm looking into that. But the other is, well, if it's great, does that mean that Ethereum could just adopt it or not? That would be important. So that's a few of the latest things I'm following. I'm spending all day now. All I do all day is read about what is going on in this space. It is a lot of fun, and I'm soaking up information like a dry sponge in a river.